G'day ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today, we're going to be having a look at a very special plane that has a very special place in my heart. This is my new meme machine, or rather, the other one to go along with the D5 Stuka and the SB2C Helldiver. The Canberra is one of those planes that everyone overlooks. Just like the D5 Stuka, just like the Helldiver, and just like every other attacker that you can basically use as a fighter. This particular plane has a few little aces up its sleeve that make it incredible for an 8.0. In this particular match, we're going up against the Germans and the Russians, and we're going to be having a very interesting time against these particular guys. I think it is the Germans and the Russians. If not, it's the Russians and the Chinese. One of them. Rather, the Canberra Mark 6, I think it's the Mark 6, has a very lovely trick up its sleeve. It's got a 2,000 round cannon pod underneath, which is used for ground attack. The first few minutes of this match are pretty boring, so I'm just going to skip ahead here to a little bit of an overzealous LA200. And this is kind of what you're going to be doing in the Canberra. Notice I've got my air brakes out, and that's so I don't rip my wings. And I've gone and retracted them again, going for a little bit of speed this time. The LA200 is a bit damaged, and I figured, I've probably got him enough so that I can get away safely. And this MiG-15 here doesn't look like he's paying much attention as it is. So I'm going to go for it. The MiG-15s are quite deadly, actually. They're going to be one of your banes of your existence. And this particular MiG-15 is sort of kind of noticing me. Now he starts noticing me, and because he's moving at speed, I'm not going to turn with him. Instead, I'm going to go for altitude, and there goes the LA200 after a long time. But we've got another LA200 trailing us pretty quick, as well as a H5, which is an IL-28, basically. So I'm going to go for altitude. And here's where the ace of the Canberra really comes out. This plane has amazing energy retention in a straight line. You can basically climb as much as you want, and then re-dive upon your opponents. And if they get a little bit overzealous and try to stall climb with you or low speed turn, you can have them whichever way you want, as long as you can get the gun pods on, which is going to be your biggest trouble, because this plane is an absolute whale. It does not perform like a fighter, obviously, because it is a bomber and it does have a bomber flight model. This particular G91 decides that he doesn't want to notice me, and he can sort of wish his problems away. Unfortunately, my aim is too rubbish to even get on target, so I have to go for another boom and zoom. I spot an IL-28 coming in right behind me, probably by the gunfire, or by the sound of the gunfire. And now I'm going into a bit of a vertical here, which is a little bit risky, because I do believe that that is a G91R4, and there comes an AIM-9B. You really have to watch out for G91s with air-to-air missiles, because they will absolutely ruin you. Speaking of ruining, it seems like this G91 is meeting another G91, and yeah, it's probably going to be the end for that G91 if he decides that he wants to turn in front of me or turn in front of the other G91. And you can see that he's not really doing too well. He's kind of struggling, and the G91 on my team seems to be biding his time a little bit, and he goes away for a zoom climb, which leaves me with this G91 here all to myself. So I'm going to take that opportunity, because if you want to launch a missile at me, I'm going to send you some 20mm cannons, and you're going to enjoy every last bit. But at the last minute, I decide to go for this other G91, who's a little bit slow. The slower targets generally tend to be not only the easier targets, but also the targets that you can just quickly get rid of. Not only that, but he was also trailing the F2 Sabre, and I thought, you know what, might as well help a teammate while I'm at it. And I'm off dodging more AIM-9s. So that's AIM-9-2 and AIM-9-3 gone out of 4, unless I've mistaken the other G91's AIM-9s, but he's on fire anyway, so we don't really have to worry about him. And the original G91 has decided that he wants to come for a little bit of a play. Here I go, bucking up my shots again, and I basically fly in front of his guns, which is a big no-no. And I get kind of saved. I get kind of lucky there, admittedly. A very poor mistake, and that should have been capitalized on by the G91, but he decided not to for some reason. But you know what? That's more than fine by me. In this plane, you are going to be dogfighting a lot, and you need to know basically how to energy fight properly. The basics are keeping your speed, keeping your altitude, and not wasting speed or altitude when you need to, unless you need to rather. So in this case here, I'm gaining a little bit of speed, I'm gaining a little bit of altitude, and I only go to turn when I know that there is an opponent nearby me. I'm trying to conserve as much as I can, because, and there pops out a MiG-15, an LA-200, and a MiG-17. Now, this dogfight that's going to happen here is going to be rather incredible. It shows you basically the raw capability of the Seahawk. So, we've got the MiG-15 there that's kind of ignoring me for the moment, and I'm going to try and help out this friendly here in the Itondar. MiG-15 goes for the vertical and pulls in front of me, so I can't really make much of that. The LA-200, however, is very nice and stalled out, and I've got him basically where I want him. And now the MiG-15 has come around, and the Seahawk has come around, which was from a little bit earlier. Seahawk Mark 100, nice and stalled out. Hopefully I can turn the wings to get the guns on. And there we go, beautiful quick kill. Just in time for the MiG-17 to come in, and the LA-200 carks it into the ground. So I'm using some defensive flying techniques here. A little bit of elevator and a little bit of ailerons here. So I'm just going to try and force this guy into a rolling scissors, because I know I can beat him in a rolling scissors. Believe it or not, the Canberra Mark 6 can turn like an absolute beast. It's such an underestimated plane, and that is the main reason why. Basically everything except the ME-163 at its battle rating, and now the SK-60 can be outturned by the Canberra. The only two things you have to worry about are the 163 and the SK-60. And everything else you can basically beat hand-to-hand in a very, very easy dogfight, provided that they don't do this. And this is what is referred to as a vertical turn fight. Now, the MiG-17 stuffs it up here by going underneath, which allows me to sort of get on top of the dogfight, if you will. And he's also, if you think of it in terms of turning circles, the MiG has just done a turning circle both above and below me at the same time, and that allows me to sort of squeeze in between. And that's exactly what you're seeing here. He's going up for the next one, and he's realizing he's not having enough energy because he's bled it before in those previous massive turns. And he's trying to do it again, but I'm sort of sticking in with him. And whilst I will lose this if I'm not careful, it's highly possible that this man makes another mistake. And here he comes. It's another one. It's just a matter of me getting my guns on target, and I do manage to get a critical hit, but I don't know what on. Just in time for the MiG-15 bis-ish to come back in. I'm going to put a little bit of negative G to throw off his aim and just try not to die. And unfortunately, my engine gets damaged and my fuselage gets damaged, which is not really good for the Canberra, especially in a dogfight with MiGs. MiGs have a fantastic energy retention in a straight line as well. So in this case, you have to be extremely careful. The Canberra beats you, or you'll beat the MiGs in a Canberra in a straight line, but if you're starting to throw some turns in, which is exactly what happens in a dogfight, the MiGs are going to have a field day with you if you're not careful. And this is kind of what's happening here once more. I'm going into a vertical turn fight with this particular bis-ish. Thankfully, he does not have the turning circle to come down on me, just like a rope-a-dope, if you will. But it's getting very close to the point where I'm energy trapped by this MiG-15. He's literally flying circles around me, and I just do not have the airspeed. If I had the engine power, I would probably be able to take him out pretty damn easy. But unfortunately, if a jet engine is hit, it sustains a lot of damage and loses a lot of thrust very quickly. Unfortunately, it's almost only a matter of time before I get taken out. You can see I'm starting to hit the 250 mark in terms of airspeed. This is getting to be fairly desperate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try something a little bit different. I'm going to run for a bit of speed. Just as he goes for that turn, I'm going to try and make as much distance as I can so I can pick up a little bit of speed in order to dogfight him properly. And maybe, just maybe, he can make a mistake and I'll be able to energy trap him. Normally in the Canberra, you tend to be on the upper hand because you have that altitude advantage. Whereas here, it's kind of been thrown away, but you can still see how viable the Canberra is at certain points. Unfortunately, the rudder isn't really good on the rollover in a reversal like that, so I unfortunately don't make the shot. And maybe I can make this shot. I get a couple of hits, and it's starting to get a little bit desperate. I may have to do that running technique once more, and at some point I will decide to do that as I start to run out of airspeed once more. You can see The dogfight is extremely tight. It is very, very close, and I'm just ever so slightly not able to get myself on target due to my engine problems. It's so close. And if I just had a little bit more, if I hadn't made that little mistake, you would have not seen this dogfight at all. It would have been done and dusted very, very quickly. So I'm going to do a runner again. I'm going to see if I can do this once more, because I noticed that he did make a mistake and I managed to get some hits. So I'm hoping and praying that he's able to, or he's not able to sort of see his mistake and correct it, and that I'm able to get a lucky shot, which is kind of what I'm hoping on here. You can see I'll never outrun this guy, and you wouldn't expect it. The Canberra tops out at about 900 kilometers per hour, and the MiG-15 bis-ish tops out at 1050, so there's no hope in the world unless I can get a lucky kill. And he's done exactly what I've wanted him to do. He's realized his mistake, that he's not going to outturn me in a horizontal turn fight instead of going for that vertical, and now it's time for me to unleash the 20 mils. There we go. Finally, a nice ace game in the Canberra. But the work isn't over yet, so I have to go back to base, rearm, and repair. Unfortunately, this plane is extremely slow. So, yeah, it's going to be a long trek back to base. Thankfully, due to editing magic, we can go straight there. You can see about 5 minutes has passed, or about 3 minutes has passed, and I'm still not back at base. I'm trudging along very slow, and my engines are both dying now. Did you see where it came from? Because I didn't either. There is a phrase that goes something like, beware of the Hun in the sun, and it turns out there are MiG-15 bisses that come from the sun. I don't know why I didn't spot him so close, and the only reason that I heard him coming was because of sound. I don't really think that should be the case, to be frankly honest. I think you should be, let's say if you're within a minimum of 1.5 kilometers, you should be able to spot all opponents within your proximity, just based on sound alone. So unfortunately, I don't think I can carry out my magic again. And you can see in the on the radar, little radar blip there was an IL-28 coming straight for me. So I think this is it for me. I'm probably not going to make it out of here, and I'm just going to try, get a little bit of speed, try and head for my airfield, and try my best to dodge these shots. But unfortunately, the MiG-15 clips my tail, and I go in at 5 kills. I managed to carry the entire team to 5 kills, and we still lose due to a mysterious, spooky Hun in the sun, which is a real kick in the guts. But I guess this video is, you know, you always want to see something that's not always a victory. It's always good to see the bad side, or the not so great side. Regardless, that is the Canberra, and the Canberra will, you know, take you to places like that. It will do things like that with you, and you will end up getting taken down similarly. So unfortunately, it's not all sunshine and roses. You do have to work hard for your kills. But again, it's like the D5 Stuka. It is really fun to fly, and you will catch people by surprise. Anyway, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Take care, and I'll catch you next time.